Welcome back to Revolt Black News. From situationships to thruples, Black love has definitely shifted, especially in this digital age. Joining us now to discuss it more, certified relationship coach Stefan Speaks, sex therapist Moandra Johnson, and certified dating and relationship coach Asia Elaine. Thank you guys for being here.
Thanks for having us.
All right, so Asia, I'm going to start with you to talk about what the current landscape is like right now. So how is dating different now than it was when our parents were dating?
It's a lot different now thanks to social media. You know, we have to give social media the credit that it needs because of the things that we're seeing in the modern dating market. We are seeing a lot of people who feel like dating is this microwavable popcorn type of experiment where people can meet someone and meet another person right across the corner if they don't like what they see. So there's just this ideal of thinking that there's always something better out there, and social media has contributed to that a lot. So we're going to continue to see those problems because we're in this modern day era where social media is so prevalent.
But is that necessarily a good thing? I'll put that out to the whole group. I mean, the idea that there's always something better out there and it's just a swipe away or a DM away, is that a good thing for building long-term, loving, stable relationships?
Well, I think it can go two ways. For some individuals, I think it helps them understand that they don't have to settle. Back in the days, a lot of relationships were based off of settling, accepting what you thought was there and there was nothing better out there, even though you weren't happy with it. So I think it opens up the ability for people to be more open-minded and be more positive about the idea that there is someone that's truly for them, but then it can turn negative because some people never satisfied, always looking for that next best thing and can't appreciate what's in front of them.
We've also seen a lot of shifts when it comes to sex. You're a sex therapist. I mean, you hear terms like ethical non-monogamy, polyamory. These are all now becoming really mainstream words where a few years ago, I don't think a lot of us even knew what those terms meant. Yeah. How have you seen sexual relationships change?
I think that one of the benefits of social media, or how it kind of relates to just how sexual relationships are changing, is just the idea that if you have a community that you're involved with or that you identify with, like, it's out there on social media. And now you can become a bigger group of like small fish, right? Whereas before, like, you might have been into thruples, like maybe our parents and things like that, but it was something that was like mystified or not talked about, or you feel like singled out. So with social media, you do have the benefit of like connecting with other people that have similar interests as you, especially with sex.
So is it necessarily that more people are doing it, or that people feel more free and more open and less judgment when they come out and they talk about it?
I definitely think it's just people have forever been doing, you know, thruples, polyamory, situationships. Now we have names and we can label them, and you also can identify with other people, or you see like someone else that might be practicing what you're practicing. So it's always been around, but just having the availability, or like it's at your fingertips now.
So Asia, if you had to tell someone what the new rules of dating are, what are some of the rules? If someone dropped in from like 1982 and they said, okay, well, help me date in 2023, what are the rules?
A typical rule that you see now, again, going back to social media, is most people start with, well, what's your handle? A lot of people, it's gone from asking for your phone number to, well, what's your Instagram handle, or what's your social media profile, so that people can do their due diligence of kind of seeing what you look like and how you present yourself on social media. So again, that is such a huge part of modern dating right now, is that social media presence. So people are paying attention to that. People are paying attention to the image of you that you're presenting yourself out there as. So that's a huge rule. That's one of the first things that people do now in the modern dating market.
Stefan, what would some of your rules be for our time traveling daters?
To be honest with you, it would be not to get caught up in social media. It's to understand that social media does present a lot of imagery that isn't real. And people get caught up in comparing themselves to other fake relationships, if we're going to call it what it is, and therefore now struggle to be more accepting or understand what's truly best for them. A lot of people are focused on what they want, not what they truly need. So I would advise, like, listen, use social media for what it's worth. If you're running a business, if you want to meet people, that's cool. If you want it for some pastime, fine. But do not get so caught up in it that you allow it to shape your perception of life and what reality is.
One of the things that I hear often from my single friends is it's never been easier to meet people and it's never been harder to form lasting relationships. People are quick to ghost you. They're here one day, the next they're not. They think there's something better. Maybe you think there's something better. So when you look at the big picture, is this really good for relationships? Everything that's happening now, all the choice, all the options, all the different terms and the different relationship arrangements, is this really good for building lasting relationships?
I think when building lasting relationships, the secret is just intentionality. So even if you're on social media, there have been, well, I've heard a lot of amazing connection stories, but just your intention in that. So if you're in somebody's DMs and if that transferred to like actually building a relationship, whatever your intention is how you'll create that like lasting relationship. Now, if you're just kind of like sliding in everybody's DMs and just, doing your thing, that is not intentional. So you may not find like a lasting relationship, maybe a good friendship, few friends, some partners, but I think it's just about the intentionality of it.
But I gotta say something about the sliding in a bunch of people's DMs. Like, if you're trying to date and meet people,
right,
you almost have to continuously slide in multiple DMs. And it's funny because I'll hear women say, well, I don't want a man who's all in all these women DMs. But how is he supposed to meet anyone if he's using social media as the tool? So I think we got to keep it in proper perspective because there's only so much you can do to actually initiate and create contact online.
I think the reservation there for a lot of women is this idea that if he is in so many women's DMs, then that means that he may not be looking for something serious. They may be concerned that he might be trying to be a player or he's not looking for anything serious. So I think going back to the intentionality point that we made before is really important, knowing exactly what it is that you are in the dating market looking for, and then trying your best to identify other people who are looking for the same things. Because the reality is that it's a huge dating market that's full of people who are, like we said before, into a lot of different things. So you have to make sure that you're doing your due diligence of asking the right questions and doing the right vetting so that you're aligning with people who are matching exactly what it is that you are looking for.
And I feel like part of what we're hearing here at this table may be a little bit of the divide that we're seeing with men and women in general.
Yeah.
You're like, listen, there's all these fish in the sea, and I'm going to get in their DMs and figure out which fish I want to swim with for the long term. And you guys are saying, well, no, we understand why women are a little bit concerned about that. So it seems that there's just too many options for playing around and no stability. Do you think there are differences with how men view this dating landscape and how women view it?
Yes, because I think to the point you guys are making, to all the ladies' points, you can be intentional, but let's just say guy A has slid into this DM. He met her, things didn't work out. Okay, so he slides into the next DM. At some point, unless he meets the one for him, it's gonna start adding up. And before you know it, he's been in a lot of people's DMs. It's the natural progression of trying to date. See, the difference is when we're offline, we're not aware of who you try to talk to and all these things. But it's the same way if we go out and we're all at the event, at a party, and a guy sees 20 beautiful women, he can't talk to all 20 because the minute he talks to one and the rest of y'all paid attention to him talking to that one, you're not gonna let him come talk to you, all right? So that's what's happening online, but it's like, what is the guy supposed to do even if he is intentionally trying to find his wife?
So what are you hearing? Because you have a very large social following. You, I'm sure, are in touch with lots of people who are asking you questions. You speak about this. What are you hearing from men? And what are you hearing from women? What are the most common questions and problems that people are bringing to you?
Well, I think from women, it's do men even want a relationship?
Okay, let's start there.
That was a little
do
right
men
there.
even want a relationship?
Yes, absolutely. I think people have to understand that the vast majority of individuals want a relationship, all right? But the thing with men, a lot of men, not all men, is that while looking for a relationship, that person they can be serious with, they still want to enjoy the company of a woman. So they may still date and try to casually date, but that doesn't mean they don't ultimately want a relationship. However, they may not want a relationship with that specific woman they're casually seeing. This is where the confusion kicks in, all right? But ultimately, we've all probably heard of stories where a guy could be in a relationship, even be in an official relationship for years, say he doesn't want to get married. Break up, 6 months later, he's engaged to someone else. So it just shows you that in reality, they do want it, but in the meantime, they want to enjoy whoever while they eventually meet that person they can actually be with.
Melandra, you're agreeing?
I agree, but I'm definitely here for, I'm pro-ho. I'm sex positive, so that is what I do. So I'm not shaming anybody. Slide in the DMs, of course. But like I said, this is how things like the term like situationships develop, right? So while you're, you know, cherry picking and deciding, you know, what you want to do, who you want to like who you casually dating, that's all fine because that's in the sector of what you're doing. You're casually dating. Now, if you decide to be intentional with a young lady or whatever and, you know, go forward with that person, there's a conversation that needs to be had. And if not, there's a conversation that needs to be had. So always just having people in the clear of like what's going on. Not like dating Susie and like Michaela and, you know, it's been like 6 years and they're both just chilling, but they both really want a relationship with you. And then you do kind of like leave that and find that person, right? So if you're kind of stringing them along, that's where I think the problem is. But if you discuss it like, hey, you know, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want to do, this is where we are in the dating process, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about sex a little bit. In the words of Salt and Pepper, let's talk
Yes.
about sex. So you're pro-ho. I've never heard that before. I think it's great. You're sex positive. So with women specifically, I feel like with men, this is probably a much easier thing to kind of to wrap their heads around. But with women, now we're in this world where your partner may want to be non-monogamous, where there are just a lot of different avenues to explore. So what advice would you give to women who are dating who are just, maybe they're interested, maybe they're not, they're confused? I mean, there's a lot going on right now.
I think that like when it comes to sex, the pairing with that is communication. Whatever you want to do, if you want to have a throuple, if you want to explore with your partner, if you want to try new things, bring another person in, like you always have to be able to communicate that. And I think from, you know, just seeing clients and different things, that is what I always find, the trouble in communicating that to their partner.
Asia, I have one more question for you in terms of people who are in a relationship, because we've been talking a lot about people who are single looking for love. So what advice would you give to people who are in a relationship and want it to be lasting?
My advice would be to be mindful, again, of the point that we were making earlier about having realistic expectations about what a relationship is actually supposed to be. The reality is that a relationship is supposed to be a product of a healthy, happy commitment between two people. And social media and a lot of the things that we see in the modern dating market will have you think that there's always something better out there. And a lot of people will think that if they're in a relationship and they're not getting the fireworks and the trips to Dubai and the Chanel bags, then there must be something wrong with their relationship, because that's what they're seeing people project on social media and, you know, on podcasts and things like that. But the reality is that those are not the things that relationships are supposed to be about, because relationships take work. They take effort. It takes accountability, self-reflection, humility. And those are the things that we are not having conversations about in the modern dating market. And those are the things that make a happy, healthy relationship.
Thank you to all of you, Stefan, Moandra, Asia. Thank you for your perspective. I'm sure you're helping a lot of people out right now. A lot of questions were answered. After the break, we will have more secrets of successful relationships. And this time we're going to hear from some of our favorite couples directly. They're going to reveal what works for them.